they end up winning the game. That's not our style, but we'll get ourselves back, ready to play, and that's where we're at.
You can find a smart aleck bus driver in Kansas City who made some snide comments when we got on the bus. Maybe that's why we drove around the stadiums to tick him off. You know, this is ridiculous. Next question.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Hey, you.
That's probably not the last we'll hear about Victory Lapgate, as we're calling it affectionately here on the show. Is the Chiefs-Raiders rivalry officially back? That's the question.
The Raiders beat them fair and square in their building on Thursday night.
Talk about it.
The Raiders are 6-3, and I think a lot of Raiders fans, they won that game against the Chiefs. They're like, all right, we gave up a bunch of points, and our Paul Gunther-led defense can't do anything. The Raiders' defense is alive, and that is the biggest thing that makes this rivalry back. The Raiders' defense the last few weeks has suffocated opponents. You saw what they did last week, obviously, just absolutely paralyzing Drew Lock, but it goes back to week 5 when they did all this against the Chiefs. But I'm talking last week against Drew Lock, keeping him to 12 points. There was no dancing or doing any dances from the Broncos quarterback there. And then 2 weeks ago against the Chargers, remember Isaiah Johnson made all those big plays. But this to me was a statement. It was that the Raiders defense is not going to be a joke this year. We knew they were going to put up points. That's a John Gruden team. The defense, and it's guys like Max Crosby and Isaiah Johnson and Carl Nassib having a career resurgence now with the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders defense is no joke, and as recently as late October, we were saying they can't do anything because their offense is fine, but their defense doesn't exist. When they beat the Browns 16-6 in that windy game, and we're basically like, just give Josh Jacobs the ball, we'll take care of the rest. It was a statement to the rest of the league. They're 6-3. No one wants to face them right now, and this rivalry is alive and well. And Gruden and Reed, who have known each other more than 30 years, going back to the Green Bay years and even time in Philadelphia, all that. These two guys, they respect each other, but they certainly are not scared of each other. I think Gruden wants to pop Andy Reid.
No doubt about it. They've been making statements all year, starting the beginning of the season when they beat the Panthers, and then a huge win up against the Saints. So they've been making statements, kind of waving at the league, and we're saying, are they good? But are they really good? Because then they have these dips, these inconsistent games. And then that game against the Chiefs, they shut down Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who we all thought was God's gift to running backs, to 40 yards on the ground. Now, they can shut down the run game, and they also have their own. Josh Jacobs is a beast. So if you're asking me if this rivalry is for real, yeah. Not only did they win when they faced those guys, not only did they shut down the Chiefs run game, but they're coming in with a guy who is in the top 5 of rushing attack. And if you want to shake the dice and pick him as the best back in the league, I don't think there's too many people that would argue that. So what can they do in this game? Derek Carr takes care of the ball. They hand the ball off to this man right here. He controls the clock, which controls the narrative, and keeps Pat Mahomes in that offense on the sideline. And like Peter said, if the defense steps up, that's a recipe for sweeping the Chiefs this season.
Wow.
What about this bus thing? This is interesting. I mean, obviously Gruden is in his feelings about it. Let's just recap to make sure everyone, including all of us, understands. So the Raiders go to Arrowhead. They win. It was shocking. I think it was the craziest win of the season. And Mahomes threw his only interception. And then the reports are that as they're leaving Arrowhead, the Raiders team bus does some laps to enjoy this thing. Why not? Screw it. Let's take some victory laps around the Chiefs' property. Gruden in the soundbite, this was his explanation? A smart aleck bus driver in Kansas City made some snide comments, and that's why we drove around the stadium to tick him off. So his suggestion is we didn't like this bus driver, so we'd make him take longer.
I don't know.
It makes no sense.
Longer to get to the airport?
That's a load of crap.
The bus driver is actually a Chiefs fan, not a Raiders fan. And he's like, no, you're going to do more laps.
Right, so to pay him back, we're going to delay our trip to the airport and just ride around a parking lot.
Do we hate that?
It's like running laps.
No, here's what I like. I like that they did a victory lap.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with the bus driver. And why do you think John Gruden was so snippy about it? See, next question, it's because they did a victory lap. And I like that they did a victory lap. You know who would have loved them doing a victory lap? Al Davis.
Yes, he would have.
The guy who, they would have done 50 of them. I love it. I don't think the rivalry is back yet because I'm big on this. You got to have a lot of back and forth to have a rivalry. They won. It was awesome. But I think it's the Chiefs have won 17 in the last 20. I mean, it's not a rivalry. If you sweep, we got something.
Okay.
And if you sweep and you're the only 2 teams in the world to beat the Chiefs, we got something. You know me, I'm always saying the answer to every question is Mahomes. It's always Mahomes. Mahomes bled in that game. And if it bleeds, we can kill it. If the Raiders win this game, not only do we have a rivalry, we have a Super Bowl contender. The Silver and Black. Super Bowl contender.
Wait.
What if the Raiders don't?
Yeah.
I
mean, they can win the whole thing. The whole thing.
Time out. You're saying if they beat the Chiefs,
Yeah.
you're legitimately looking at them as a not a playoff contender, Super Bowl contender.
If the Raiders beat the Chiefs, again, in both locations, they can win the whole thing. They have one-punch power that they can beat they can beat Pittsburgh, they can beat anybody in the NFC. I'm telling you, 2 wins is not a fluke. One win, they had a good day.
Nate, do we need Nurse Mary to come out here and check his temperature?
I
What's going on
respect
over here
that.
with this guy?
I'm not even mad. I respect that.
Okay.
I like it.
They know
I'll
who
say
they
this.
are.
If they don't beat the Chiefs,
Yeah.
but they play super chippy, it's really down to the wire, and they, make it really interesting, is it a rivalry? I think we're trying to make a rivalry because we want, how great would it be for the Chiefs to contend against someone? The Patriots, the only team that Patrick Mahomes has lost to more than once, and now Brady's not there, so that's not a thing between the Pats and the Chiefs. We want the Raiders thing to happen. Yeah. I don't know if it's there.
If it's close and the Chiefs win, here's what we'll know. Let's look at some of the optics and aesthetics. Let's see what the Chiefs feel like. Remember when Patrick Mahomes was running off the field earlier and he was counting like this, and Peter's like, I think he's counting where we're ranked in the NFL 100. Let's see if there's a Tyreek Hill bus driving celebration.
Okay.
Let's see how the Chiefs bus does leaving Las Vegas. That's when we know we got some flavor.
If the Chiefs blow them out, it's not a rivalry.
It's always going to be a rivalry, but I can't take it as I did coming into this game. Derek Carr has silenced a lot of people, and yet there is still a piece of, okay, but can you win the big one, right? And this is the big one. It comes down, it's a Sunday night, whole country's watching, and it's Derek Carr versus Patrick Mahomes. Carr's the home quarterback. Go out and win this game.
Love it. Mike Garofalo joining us now, our NFL Network insider, hanging out with us. Mike, I'm still sort of reeling from the fact that the Raiders are a Super Bowl contender if they beat the Chiefs this week, which I'm really excited about. But I want to ask you about a couple of NFC quarterbacks. What's up with Nick Foles? He left the field last night against the Vikings. And Drew Brees, of course, who's dealing with a bunch of injuries.
Okay, the Foles one, which we went to bed last night, seeing him leave on a cart and thinking, well, it's never good when you leave on a cart. Well, that seems like it was more of a precautionary measure after he was dropped on his right hip. They are focused on the hip there, and they did initial x-rays and tests at the stadium last night, and all indications early on are that he did not suffer a fracture there, which is really good news and leads to the potential that he will be back for this team when they return from the bye in Week 12. So all indications right now good for Nick Foles. However, he will undergo further evaluation starting today. You also mentioned Drew Brees. Now, Brees has 5 fractured ribs, Ian Rappaport confirmed for us yesterday. The ones on the left side, when he was dropped last week, they believe that was from a previous injury against the Buccaneers. The ones on the right side, when he was dropped against the 49ers, they believe that's a new injury. Now, the Saints are saying privately that there was no indication that Brees had the initial fractures suffered against the Bucs, that they didn't show up on any x-rays or anything like that, but now they are visible. Well, in addition to all of that, there's a punctured lung for Drew Brees, which means he's going to miss time. You've got to be careful when you return from that. So it's looking like a couple of weeks for Brees. However, he will not be placed on injured reserve. At least that's the plan right now for the Saints, as Rappaport mentioned yesterday.